Welcome to another relaxing long play of Manor Lords. My name is Typical T, and today we continue with our gentle long play, growing our towns and settling new regions. So, without further ado, grab a drink, make yourself comfortable, and join me as we immerse ourselves in this magical game. Winter is upon us. We'll do our best to get through. Let's take out the foresters from our foresting huts because we don't need them working in there over the winter. We can free up that labour instead. How are we doing over here with Miner's Row? So we've filled 2 mines. We still don't seem to be making nearly as much from the deep mine here as we are from the mining pit.
Carrots, cabbages, turnips.
So we might open up an additional node, but for the time being we've got a surface deposit here, and they seem to be doing most of the work. So we'll leave them where they are. And as winter descends upon our first farmland, we see that next year we're looking at a good harvest of barley and a decent harvest of wheat also. We're going to want to make sure that we have everything ready for the harvest. So we have our windmill over here. And let's also open up a malt house. If we can find where that is. It might be that it is an extension in this part of the game. Charcoal kiln, bloomery, smithy, clay furnace, malt house. Just didn't recognise the logo for it. So what are we short on? We're short on stone to build the malt house. We have our stone deposit over there. So in that case, the next thing we need to build is a stone gathering camp. And we'll pop that down in here. And as soon as that's built, we'll get a few people to work on bringing in some stone. We also need to expand our living space, because we have rather filled up our plots already. This is a good area for barley, so I don't really want to build on that. And it's good behind there as well. So it might be that we need to settle a little bit further away from this initial settlement. So barley fertility around here isn't so great. Neither for flax, and emmer we can grow almost anywhere, so where we can't grow emmer, we can usually grow something else. Having said that, yeah, that might be a reasonably good place. But I think for the time being, here is going to be a good place to put down some additional dwellings. And what we're going to do is make sure that these have got enough space inside of them as to make sure that we can have a working space at the back, and we're going to be using that for extensions, because we are still going to need some leather, etc. from keeping goats, and a bit of food variety. So we'll build those there, and then on the other side we'll put down some housing as well, and these houses will make a little bit longer with the aim of having fruit trees in them. We might even expand out to the side here and then reduce the number of properties. And the royal tax has gone up once more. But I think we're starting to make enough from our economy to manage with it. So that gives us 3 reasonably large orchards. So we'll set that to be built there as well. And now that the stone gathering camp is open, we'll set someone working there so we can get everything we need ready for the malt house. And we're also going to want to build a pack station so that when the time comes we can start trading pretty much straight away with our neighbouring regions to get malt out into the world. So we'll build a couple of these pack stations and we'll just fit these in where we have space. We'll pop down 2 for the time being. We'll pop a street across there. And let's go and check on Hagstrass. So we're still getting rid of the mining pit there, getting the last few supplies from that. And we've a little bit of regional wealth, but it's not really kicked off yet for us. How are we doing on the stone camp? So we've got 2 fully manned quarries. And we have 123 dressed stone, 62 rubble. And how are we doing for rough stone? We've still got 55 rough stone as well. So we should be exporting that at a pretty decent rate. It is worth a fair bit. We've got plenty sat around. Productivity is 29%. So I think this is the time we need to get a couple of extra people working at the trading post. And it would definitely be worth getting a horse. So once we have the regional wealth, we'll order a horse as well, so that they can work at the trading post. And what we'll do is we'll assign that there, and then as soon as we have access to a horse, we will buy one in, and he can start working there. As for our main region, we still seem well set in supplies. We're making a reasonable number of roof tiles, if not a heady amount, and we've got a little bit of clay sat around. Down here we have our saw pits working. Let's get someone working in the smithy, because we do want to make sure that we've got enough tools at any one time. I would say we'd need another charcoal kiln, but like I said, we seem okay at the moment for the amount of fuel we're producing. Nearly all our fuel as well is coming from charcoal. So we're converting all of that firewood pretty much straight into charcoal. But we've got no available living space here. So the immediate thought is we need to get on and build some more burgage plots. And we're going to do that down here. And once again, the aim is going to be to get some more fruit trees planted in this region. So let's take the road across here. We'll get rid of that just because we seem to have crossed the end there. We'll pop that down there. And we'll take our burgage plots across the front here. And as much as we can, we want to try and fill this space. That looks pretty good. And let's reduce the number of dwellings. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So reduce it by 1 more. And that will give us 3 of each type of tree. Although that one's much smaller than this one. So maybe we'll have an extra one and we'll plant the same trees in both of those. And that's certainly going to massively increase the amount of fruit we have. So let's build that. And we're making use of those unassigned families who would normally be planting trees in the summer months. And we've got some cold people. How silly of them. We've more clothes than ever. There's even 1 clothing set around that hasn't been bought. There's plenty of shoes, and we know there's plenty of fuel. It does look like clothing is the issue though. And how are we doing at granary? 80% productivity. And at this storehouse, 75%. We'll get an additional worker at this warehouse here. And now we've got these additional families up here. What we're going to do is select this place and the people here, and we're going to assign them to work at the storehouse. Maybe not. Yep, there we go. Storehouse. And granary.
Get your daily dose of greens, healthy and hard.
And they're going to build market stalls here, and that's going to help better supply these mining houses.
Carrots, cabbages,
And how are we
turnips.
doing for
Vegetables so fresh.
wool?
You'll swear they was picked this very morning.
So we're definitely turning all the wool into yarn. We're not turning all of the yarn into clothing.
Cheated him? Never. Perhaps he simply does not know how to cook properly.
So I think we're probably going to want to open an additional house, an additional family for making clothes. That's not going to be one of these new houses down here. So perhaps on this side of the bank we can add some additional houses, which can be a little bit smaller and used for production of goods. So we'll just turn off snapping to roads and put a little line of houses down here as well. And let's also dot some additional wells around to make sure that people aren't having to walk too far to access water. And we'll do the same over here as well. And the maintenance certainly seems to be going better on the mining pits. We haven't had a collapse in some time. And we're building up some small and large shields again. We've got some warbows. We have 101 spears. And some cold as well over in Hagstrass. We're running out of food in Frost Check. But hopefully the waters will unfreeze and those families sat over there working at the fishermen's huts will be able to bring in some food as soon as winter abates. And we get some mushrooms growing as well. In Hagstrass, we've got a bit of cold here. It's going to be a little while till we have any clothing here as well. We do have a little bit more money coming in now, so that's a good sign that we're exporting a little bit more. As we said, let's get that horse ordered so they can work at the trading post. And it would be good to get all these burgage plots planted up. But we are going to have to wait until we've got a little bit more money available. We can do it down here. We'll get some carrots planted in there. And we'll do this one at a later date. But with trees planted there, we want to plant trees there. These goods haven't quite been collected yet. And it's really about making sure we're just continuing on in the right direction. And as the thaw comes into effect, just as it looks like we're about to run out of fuel, hopefully we'll start to get those fish in and the mushrooms will start to grow. Next year this won't really be a problem because we should have plenty of wheat available to us. So let's build that mold house that we didn't quite get around to, now that we have some stone available to us. We'll build 2 of those. And it would be good as well to establish a trading post. And we'll pop that just here. And we'll pop a road between the 2. Neatly tucked away in here. There may be a bit of hunger before winter's end, but I don't think there's much we can do about it at this stage. And then back over in Burenbach, As the thaws start, we can see that the new row of houses is almost complete. And some have even been moved into. So we'll start to build the orchards, so that when we come to planting, we can do it all in one go, and we get the right number of everything that we need. And then we'll just wait for those last couple to be constructed. We probably won't double up the living space immediately. We want families to move in individually to all of them so they can tend the trees that are growing there, and then we'll double up on living space as and when we need to. And we're also going to get some of these foresters back employed so they can continue to work on ensuring we've plenty of trees into our future. So we have started to cleave a bit into the new forest we planted over here. And as we head out of winter, I think it's probably going to be high time we expanded to another region. So what do we have up here? We have a rich wild animal deposit, rich berries, so that could be used for dyes potentially, some clay and some stone. Up here, some mushrooms, a rich salt deposit, and a rich clay deposit, and up here a rich stone and rich mushrooms. The only rich source of iron is over here in our opponent's lands, not that they're taking advantage of it. But I think we will expand into Manor next and start exploiting the rich salt deposit there for our own financial gain. And in terms of food, we've some wild animals and we've some mushrooms available. And I don't believe it's particularly good here for farming. Although it looks like there are a few spots that we potentially could plant some wheat. And a few more that we could plant rye as well. And in fact that might be something worth doing in all of our regions as an additional source of food. So it might even be something we look to do over here. Something to consider. As we head into March, it looks like we've finally got a bit of food coming in. And that's because the fish are melting and the mushrooms are growing. A little while to the harvest, so we can still focus on getting construction ready and getting everything ready for when it does come time for the harvest. And over in Hangstrasse, we're just waiting to build up the economy a little bit more. What else can we sell from this region? We could sell mortar because we have a good source of small stone. So let's have a look at the... we can get rid of the stone gatherer's camp, we don't need that anymore. And we'll set a reserve of 50 rubble. And we'll get an additional man working at the kiln. And how much is it to open a trade route for mortar? It's only 30. So we're going to be exporting mortar. And we want a desired surplus of 50. So that's another export we can be working on. And let's convert... I'll leave it as is for the time being. And we'll quickly check in over here. And provided we're happy, which I think we are, so we're still in the growing season. Food is going up nicely. We'll head right on over. Oh, we've got a little bit of upgrading to do here. Some of the miners, like they're ready for a higher level of society. And down here we can get those other plots prepared, ready for orchards. And just as soon as the rain ends, we'll look to get a new settlement placed over there. Your work area will soon be full, berries are growing, so don't worry too much about that, friends. And these houses are still being set up over here as well. But we have people moving in, which is good. And we'll continue to build these extensions so they're ready. And the weather is improved. Let's head over here. And let's look at where we're good for rye. We don't want to be building housing over there. So I'm thinking a good place to start our settlement will be around about here. We can expand in this direction because there's good access to the salt, the wild animals, the mushrooms, and also the stone, while keeping us nice and close to areas that we can grow some food. So let's almost take a straight line from here to there. But first we need to get a settlement. So let's go to administration, settlers camp, and we'll settle just here. Confirm. Region settled. And we'll take that road right across here. And we'll just double check again where that fertility is. And we will essentially wall off those areas so we know not to build on them. And we'll do the same down here as well. So almost around here like that. And then that will do for the moment. And we can start setting up in this area here. We'll take a line straight across there. And this can be our initial camp area. So as per usual, we're going to get straight in with building a granary and a storehouse. Put those down next to each other. And we're going to want a source of water. And they should get straight to work on that. Again, we're just thinking about protecting those resources from getting wet, preventing that as far as possible. And then from there, we'll get down a logging camp, right down in here, and they can start clearing out this region of trees, make good use of them. While they're doing that, we'll quickly hop back over to see how we're doing with the growing of the crops. It looks like they're coming along nicely. It'll be some time to the harvest though, we've almost got a third of a year. So with a little bit of money that we have here, it would be good to open up an initial trade route. And I'm thinking we'll open up a trade route for, let's have a look, probably malt is what I'm thinking. So that's 40, so a little more expensive than we can manage. So in that case, we'll start with a trade route for barley. Maybe even wheat. Establish a trade route for wheat. Then we can export that. But we want a surplus of 50 before we start exporting. So we'll export a little bit of that wheat at the end of each, or the start of each harvest. And over here, let's get a family working at the forager's hut so we can take advantage of those berries. Got a reasonable amount of money coming in. And let's plant some carrots in this plot here. Hopefully they make good use of that space, or we'll be demolishing this plot and starting again, because I can't bear the thought of all of that being unplanted and unused. Right, and let's see how Mandlik are getting on. So we'll get a couple of workers employed immediately in getting our goods stored safely away inside. And then just as soon as the logging camp is up, we'll get a few families working in there. And they're running out of food. And fear not, we'll be okay. Let's set the work area primarily over this kind of zone. And let's build a forager's hut so we can start taking advantage of these natural resources. So we'll build that just here, connected back to that road. And with all our resources stored inside, let's move our hitching post here. And let's extend that road across. And I wonder if we can fit an additional hitching post in here. We can just, that's perfect. So we'll place that down. And then just as soon as we have enough logs, we can start worrying about getting some housing in place. But the first priority is getting some food. So we're ripe over here to get some planting. So let's go pears, apples, quinces, pears, apples, quinces, pears, apples, and then 2 smaller ones of quinces. And those are quite the orchards. I really can't wait to see what they look like all grown up. It's going to be a lovely spread of white blossom, and that should hopefully sate our people's appetites for fruit. More properties on Miner's Row are ready to be upgraded, so we'll get those going there. And hopefully soon we'll be upgrading some of these properties to level 3 with incoming malt from our neighbour. To that end, I think it's about time that we looked at building a tavern or 2. Now in here would be an ideal space, so let's move the stable over here, and hopefully that's going to leave us space to build a tavern. And we'll probably want to put one on this side of the river as well, although not too close to the manor. So let's pop it over here. And how are we doing? It looks like we're pretty much filling up on sheep pasture space. So we're going to expand our pasture land, but not before we go back over here quickly and set some families to work at the forager hut. Now the goods are stored safely away, we can unassign those families and get them working elsewhere. And let's get some pasture filling up this space here. Actually, we might as well fill this entire area. There we go. And how are the sheep farm coping with all these sheep? 23% productivity. And they're still waiting around a little bit. What we'll do is we'll build another sheep farm over here, so that we're diversifying that a little bit. And hopefully we start to see some growth over here soon. It's lovely to see the golden fields. And we'll probably need to start thinking about getting some foresters working here soon, replanting trees, but not for a moment. What we are going to want to do though pretty soon is get an additional ox, but for the moment things seem to be going well. Let's get these extensions ready for orchards. And let's head over here. It sounds like that horse has arrived, which is splendid. And we'll order another one and open up some additional stable space. Build a couple of hitching posts in here. And we just do still have the single granary and storehouse here. And it looks like they might be struggling a little bit. Let's have a look at the people. Yep, they're spending a lot of time on other things, so we'll assign an extra family to the granary for the moment. And we need to add some living space over here. So let's start to think a little bit about expanding that. As for where it's going to go, I think in here is a prime location. And we want these just big enough that they've got extensions on the back. Looks like we're just shy of getting them in there, so we'll come up a little bit. And we'll just see how many we can fit in. So there's a number there, and then we'll add some along the back of these houses here as well. And we'll just turn off Selector Road. Get those there, and then we'll surround those with their own road at the back here. So we're getting some expansion there. We've only got 3 months worth of fuel. So let's take a family from an assignment like the quarry, and we'll assign an additional family to the woodcutter's lodge. And we're also going to want to build a charcoal furnace. And we'll pop that in here. Let's swing back over to Mandlak. And we've got plenty of food, but no fuel. So we'll take one family from there. We'll build a woodcutter's lodge, which we'll place down here. And we can now get some housing. So let's build some initial burgish plots. And we'll make these ones fairly large, so this again will probably be our... These will become orchards. So we'll fill right up to the curve of the road there. And 1, 2, 3, we want 6 really, so that's 6 nice long orchards. Well, they will be one day, so we'll build those there. And that's steady progress. So we'll leave one family in the logging camp. And let's build a gap in between these two, what will be high streets. Connect them at the end. And in the middle there, we'll place a market. And we'll pop that there. So that's ready when we have our granary and storehouse working again. Back over here, we can see we're steadily getting families moving into those residences. approval seems pretty good. We've actually got 2 monthly migration now for the first time. And some more of the rest of Miner's Row are ready to upgrade to level 2. So we've got those upgrading. None in that pasture yet, but we're still working on construction, and the taverns are in place, and we're going to upgrade both those taverns straight away. Or at least we would if we had enough stone. We'll have to wait for some more of that to be imported. We've harvested a good number of the mushrooms, but we may want to get an additional family working at the forager's hut. And we need to start thinking about adding some more housing here soon as well. So let's add a road across the back of these. And we're going to add some housing. Just small housing. We don't need these to have particularly big workspaces at the back. And we'll build those there. And soon it will come time that we'll need to get people working in the farmhouses, but it's not here yet. And over here, new housing is going up, so we've got space for people to move in. And just as soon as the charcoal kiln is open, we can start to make some more efficient fuel. First couple of houses are up here. In fact, what we're going to do is we'll take that family out from the logging camp and we'll set them working at the woodcutter's lodge so we can start to build up some more fuel for the winter months. The forager is hard at work also. And the next endeavour I'm thinking of here at the Boomback, apart from the taverns, which will start to hopefully fill with ale just as soon as we can import some malt, is let's start to think about having our own farm here. So let's select farmhouse, and we're thinking about rye fertility. And we're going to build that just here. And we're going to get a number of fields select down here for rye. So let's build a road across the back here, like so. And then again, we want to keep these reasonably small, about 0.5 Morgan each, so that's good. One there. Let's take that a little bit further across. So we can curve around here, another one there. And a third there. And then we'll have a fourth. A fifth. And a sixth. And then we'll get a seventh, an eighth, just slightly bigger, and a ninth here, at the end. And we're going to set these all to be crop rotation for rye. That's just about the only thing that can grow reliably here. Then we're going to dive straight in the deep end with all of these fields going active. Just 2 more to go. Like so. And we've not even built the farmhouse yet, but we'll set that to a highest priority so we can get people working there as soon as we can. And we'll go and check over here. So those houses have been built. And let's start to think about what we want this region to be doing. So, salt is going to be their main production. Environment is largely woodland. So, hunting hounds, increase export minor trades. Oops. New smallholding, we've done that. Increase regional wealth from burgish plots, reducing upgrades, salt and iron, or import value reduction. And the others, sheep based, we've got masons. Improved mine integrity might be quite nice for salt. And mining import discounts. Trade routes for iron ore and salt are free to establish. Okay. Iron ore and salt import value minus 30%. And improved armorers. 20% helmets. Mail armor. So what I think we'll do is we'll go for either prospectors or smiths. And I think what we'll do is we'll go for prospectors. And our aim will be the retinue treasure crystal. That's okay. What we'll do is we'll make this the area where we create all of our armor. So we'll unlock that. And that will be the direction we're heading in over here. So with a few more families spare, we'll get someone working at the logging camp again. And it would probably be wise as well to establish another forager's hut where they can better work, or a hunter's camp rather, where we can start working the wild animal deposit. So we'll pop a hunting camp down just here. And once we have the spare people as well, we'll set them to work the granary and the storehouse. We're working hard on getting those burgish plots ready. And we've got a few ready for upgrade here. And we've still got a few available to be moving in, so we don't need to worry about expanding the living space just yet. And this is looking very well utilised, so we don't need to worry about that. We're going to have plenty of carrots, which is nice. We are struggling on fuel though, so let's get family working at the charcoal kiln right away. The foresters are working on replanting there, so that's good news. And the farmhouse is ready. Let's get that fully assigned and they can get straight on with working on the rye. And we're also going to, in conjunction with that, need to get a communal oven potentially. The alternative being that we've got this new row of houses here, and we could get a bakery or two set up. So that might be a good idea. We need someone to move into there first though, but we've almost filled up this row here, so hopefully it's not going to be too long before we do get some people moving in there, especially as we've still got monthly migration set at 2. But we are going to need a windmill in any case, for any event. So let's look at where we can set this up. Ideally over here somewhere near the production. What about over here? Not particularly good there. Not fantastic at the coast either. So over here might not be a bad spot actually. More royal tax. Dark days indeed. So that's 96 there, so we'll build it there. That seems as good a place as any. We have farmers hard at work there. And how are this lot doing for supply? They look okay. Let's check this market. So Okay, but I think what we want to do is get an additional storehouse and granary worker down here to help supply these areas. And let's head over. Still got a reasonable amount of money coming in there as well. Let's head over here, and already we've filled up all of our burgish plots. Let's get a couple of families working in the storehouse and the granary. And let's double up all of these living spaces, which will give something for them to do to keep them occupied for the minute. We'll keep upgrading properties as and when we can over here as well. Ooh. Uh-oh. Raiders. Raiders, that's not a good sign. They Hagstrass again. This town still remembers the pain. Haderwand, okay, there's a good chance they go for our competitors. But we have just settled here. So I think it's probably time we marched our own army out to fight. We can actually probably get an additional unit of spears. And possibly bowmen? No, not bowmen. We don't have enough people for that here just yet. But that gives us 4 units of spears and a unit of archers. So I think it's probably time to rally them to the banner. So with the brigands marching, let's raise our own banner. Rally the men. The first time we have fielded any significant fighting force of our own without hiring in people to fight for us. We have a mighty population here now in Nuremberg of over 300. And of that, we've got maybe 150 fighting men. I'm not going to bother taking our retinue with us, because they are just 5 men for the time being. So there'd be little use. So as the men gather to the banner, let's keep an eye on where they're headed. They're actually headed west. And it looks like all of them are headed west. So it may be that we actually need to send our troops west as well, to protect Hagstrass, should they decide to descend on us after Trumaho. And hopefully they don't suddenly change their minds and head east, because it will be quite the march to get back to Mandlach in time. I'm glad we didn't settle in Hadwand, however. Alright, so as they're still rallying, we'll set them to form up over here, across the river, and ready to march to the aid of our other regions. And we'll just keep a wary eye on where they're headed. They look fairly set in their path though. Okay, we'll ignore them for the moment. So we've still got properties being upgraded here. And we'll get a family working at the hunter camp, which means taking a family away from the woodcutter's lodge, so we still have a family to work on construction for the time being. And much of the labour is heading out to war, so things may slow down a little bit here in the homeland of Nuremberg Boatland. But we seem to have made a good start on the fields here at the very least. That's all we can ask for, really. And how are we doing here with the growing? Looks like we're getting there. We'll think about soon as well keeping sheep here and setting up the fields so we can help increase fertility and grow our sheep in the pens instead of having dedicated pens. That's something we can probably start doing over in Nuremberg as well, actually. Over in Hagstrass, we've still got a fuel problem, but we do now have a family working at the charcoal kiln, so hopefully we start to transfer some of that firewood into charcoal. I'm actually going to set a second family there so that we can crack on with that at a slightly faster pace. We've got a fair bit of regional wealth now as well, so let's get on and make sure that we have everywhere planted up with what we want. So all those are active, and it looks like we've got all of these going as well, except for that one there. Let's get some goats in there,
Firewood.
and these down here as well. Let's set these to animal pens also. And these two here. Make these two chickens. Right, how are our troops getting on? Slowly and steadily making their way over. And the brigands are almost at the bridge here. A measly host, but we've seen what damage 4 lots of brigands can do before. We still have the graves marking those who died on their first excursion here when they burned down half of the town. It's still fresh in the memories of our people. I'm going to speed these guys up a little bit to get ready to depart from the border. Just double check that nothing else needs upgrading here. We're looking pretty good. So let's go to our barter post here. So what we're going to do is we're going to set you to trade with Frostcheck, and we're going to be sending... What do we have in abundance? Let's have a look at our food supply. We have plenty of carrots. We have plenty of charcoal as well, so let's send charcoal. We've got plenty of fuel here, and we can always start producing more. So we'll send charcoal, and in return, we would like malt. So let's head on down the list, and then head back up because we've missed it, quite obviously. There it is. 0.8 barter value, so that's fine. And we'll order an additional mule. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to make sure we've got enough stable space around. So we'll add a couple of extra hitching posts around the place. The last of the men are forming up. And then we'll set them to walk. And we'll set them off on a steady march to gather by the manor. And they set off out in defence of their brothers-in-arms in other regions. By a number of routes by the looks of it. Perhaps they want to make sure they get a good look across the water. I suppose they don't often march out that way. Lost sight of the brigands. Is that because they're arriving in the town? I can hear them, I don't see them burning just yet. Ah, there they are. Coming out of the dark forest. That's not terribly far away from our border, so I am actually going to give our men the chivvy up. They can rest when they get there. They may not be needed, but I'd rather they were there just in case. And I always feel sorry for these villagers. Their lord, their manor lord, could not protect them. Perhaps one day we'll bring them under our governance, and we'll do the protecting that their lord could not. So as Trumaho starts to smoulder and our men march, we turn our mind to more domestic matters, keeping an eye on construction and ensuring that things at home continue in the right ilk. Truly are taking an odd route, men. Don't think about it too much. With additional family there, which is good. They can carry on working with construction. And sadly, Trumaho burns. They'll certainly suffer great losses. I wonder if they'll lose their orchards. Well, we can only make sure that our own villages do not succumb to the same fate. There is little we can do for these men, these families, these women, these children. I only hope that one day, by bringing them under our own governance, we can do what their own lord could not, and protect them. But let's not dwell on what we cannot fix, and instead work on what we can protect. Our own men are moving into position to protect our own regions from a similar fate. And with war on the mind, we return to those regions that we hope soon will offer us staunch protection through the production of armour. So we've got 2 spare families here now, but we have a fair bit of construction to be working on, so I think we'll leave them to it for the moment. We've got foragers working there, and we've got the hunting camp staffed. And over here, hopefully soon we start to have some families move in down here, because what we're going to want to do is have at least one of them working as a bakery, maybe 2. And it looks like we may even get a small harvest this year, which is more than we could have hoped for initially. As usual, the pantries down here are full. Worse things have happened, for sure. And really, in Frostcheck, we're just waiting for the harvest to come. That's all there is really to this place. And we're going to need it to come because that's going to be our source of food for the winter. We're not really getting all of these fish, so it may even be worth... We've got loads of mushrooms to get through there as well. Let's up the forager hut to have more workers. And let's go over more royal tax. Oh dear. Oh dear, it's becoming quite unacceptable. Let's get some additional people over here working on the fishing. We'll build another fisherman's hut to accommodate that. As we wait for our troops to move into position, I fear that our adversary's town is all but burned to the ground. But the AI seems to have an equal propensity to crash the game as it does to inflict damage on us. So we're going to stay well away from the village that is on fire, because we've had to restart the game a number of times, but we are still very much in the beta, so that can easily be forgiven. But for the time being, we'll just continue to focus on our own regions. You see our men still march onwards, or at least they should be. We'll pop them to continue walking. So it looks like the threat has all but gone. The raiders have had their fun, so we'll march our men all the way home again. Thank you for providing us safety, but you may go back to your homes and to your families. As you can see, there's not much left of the village, and it looks like actually the village are having a gathering to discuss what exactly they're going to do now their village has mostly burned to the ground. Alas, I fear there's not much we can do for them. Perhaps one day, if they survive and endure, we will be able to bring aid in the form of a secure governance. For the time being though, let's worry about governing our own people. So it looks like we're using up everyone here. And we've got 2 available. Make sure we've got a family working over there and a family left to work on construction. Home at Brunbach. The fields are planted. Profit still streams in. Let's get a family working at that sheep farm. Looks like we're starting to use this pasture here as well now. At some point we can probably start to export sheep and sell our excess as well, which should be another source of income. We've got loads of wool, so let's take a look at our weaver's workshop. Only 50% efficiency. It's mostly because they're working elsewhere, so let's get down an additional weaver's workshop so that we can maximize our output of yarn. We may even then be able to start selling some of that yarn. We'll pop that down here on this side of the bank. And as our men start to arrive home, we'll disband them back to their usual tasks. And we'll do the same once all of our spear militia straggles back in from their rather unnecessary training exercise, but I suppose any training exercise is a positive one. They've not been out of the region before, and now they have seen the other regions that they call friend. So we'll wait for the last couple of stragglers to come home. Guess he's got tired legs from carrying the bannered lesson. Okay. And we'll send them back to their own jobs as well. Let's extend here. And through a large granary and a large storehouse, so that's good. We're still constructing that fisherman's hut. And we've plenty of extra living space available. We've got a full team working at the foraging. Again, the royal tax has increased. With the royal tax on the mind, now we have a decent income here in Hextras. We're going to open taxation here. We'll start at 2%. And we'll grow it over time as we continue to export more. It looks like we're starting to get hold of the fuel situation. But I think what we'll do is we'll get an additional family working at the woodcutter's lodge and at the charcoal kiln to make sure that we stay ahead of that issue. And we'll get that additional man working back at the quarry now that we have the time, and now resources rather, not just time. And let's get some goats and pigs into these properties, so we're not wasting them. And we'll get some chickens in there. Wonderful. Oh dear, stock's damaged by the weather. Let's get an additional family working at the granary to make sure that we're bringing all those stocks in. And we'll do the same at the storehouse as well. It looks like it's time to get people working back at the farm. So we're going to reduce the number of workers we have on our other food sources. And we're going to get them all into the farms. All but one family. Because they're needed for the harvest. And there we have it. The first wheat and barley being bundled up and put away. And we should be seeing, yep, wheat sheaves and barley trickle in. And let's go over to our main settlement as well. It looks like, yeah, we've already done with the harvesting over here. So what do we have? We have some rye. So let's get someone working over at the windmill. I'm assuming that rye, yep, it's coming in now. It looks like many of the workers at the farm actually live on the opposite side of the bank, which isn't the most efficient thing, but there we are. As always, that pantry is full. And rather unsurprisingly, the log camps are full. They often are. And as we gather in the rye, we look towards next year's harvest. We've had a few additional families settle over in Mandluck, which is a wonderful and positive sign. We don't need that forager working there for the minute. We'll leave the chap working at the hunter's camp. And where are we at with things here? So we've established our initial settlement. I think what we probably ought to do now is get down a saw pit so we can start to process some of that lumber that we've extracted. And also a stone gathering camp, which will pop out here. When we have the goods. Let's see if we're running out of something. Planks we need for that. And we are going to need to be importing tools to here at some point reasonably soon. And talking of tools, we're going to need tools down in Frostcheck as well. So we make a good number of tools over in Broombuck. So actually what we're going to do is we're going to alter our pack station here, and we're going to send tools and receive malt from Frostcheck. And we'll set up a similar pack station here in Frostcheck. And we're going to be bartering with Broombuck. And we're going to be sending malt and receiving tools. And we'll hire someone in to work there. Looks like everyone is still busy out in the fields. So we'll make sure we have any spare labour assigned to the farms. And we should have, what do we have? 122 wheat sheaves, 99 barley, so it's going to be a little while before we can start processing those. And actually we're going to need to make sure that we have got a communal farm bakery set up. So let's make sure we have that built ready. Pop that in there. And we're going to have to assign a couple of families from the farms to work on that, while also working on fishing. And as we head into October, into autumn, mid to late autumn, things are looking good elsewhere. It's a little shy on production of fuel here, but hopefully slowly we're moving on to charcoal and away from firewood. Doesn't look like the villagers here are doing an awful lot of rebuilding, but we'll leave them to their own governance. Yes, and we're getting to the point of requiring maintenance here. And what do we have in terms of iron ore? We've used up all of our iron ore, so what we need to start doing now is buying in iron ore. Go to trade. We want to be importing iron ore. And we want a surplus of about 20, not 50. And that iron ore in turn can be used by our bloomery. And then our blacksmith, all in turn, wherever he might be located. Been some time since we plopped him down, obviously. We haven't assigned it to anyone in particular, so we should have smithing down here, so we can continue to make tools. Okay, so with that done, that seems to be taken care of. We're well underway for planting for the next season here. And at the trading post, let's get someone working there so we can sell a little of that wheat we've produced. And then once the fields are planted, we can start turning some of that into flour and bread for ourselves. Over here, we've still got the rye sat in here. So hopefully soon. And what are our people doing here? Yeah, they're still working out on the field, so they're going to be doing that before they come to the rye and start turning that into rye grain, ready for the windmill. We don't have loads of spare families. We have slipped about still at +2 monthly migration. Just feel like it's taking a little while to fill up our houses, but you can see we have started filling up this row here. So let's get the first of these. Once we're upgraded, we'll turn it into a bakery. And winter is approaching indeed. So we're looking okay for supplies here. We've plenty of fuel and we've a decent amount of food. Let's assign a family to the saw pit and set a timber reserve of 20. Get an additional family working there. There's no point in having anyone foraging this time of year. And let's get... have we got anyone working at the stone gathering camp? Don't even appear to have a stone gathering camp. So let's get one of those set up nice and quick. That down there. And then let's also get a mine set up over the salt deposit so that we can start bringing some of that in sooner rather than later, because that's going to be our monetary source of export for our monetary game here. once that's constructed, we'll get a worker or two collecting stone. And then pretty quickly as well, we're going to want to get stone going. And what do we need to get trade set up? It's going to be a trading post, naturally. So we'll get one of those built nice and early, and we'll put that in the center here. Lovely, so that's progress there. And yep, we've got the grain there now, and that's being milled into rye flour. Are any of these ready for upgrade? Not just yet. So what's holding them back? Meats, fishes, or animal produce? Do we not have an abundance of that? No, it doesn't look like it. So we could get an additional family working at the fisherman's hut, so let's do that. And are these families done? Yeah, they're all done, so we can take them off and get them back working other jobs. So while we can, we'll make sure that we've got the foresting stations full. And how are we doing on wool and yarn production? We've got loads of wool, loads of yarn. We can probably even start to think about exporting some wool. And down here, how are we getting on? So we've started making a bit of grain. So it would be good to get a family working in the windmill. And what do we have here? "47 wheat grain, 49 wheat sheaves." Looks like we have probably sold a little bit of as well. And have we got that communal oven set up? We have. Let's get a family working in there, so as soon as we have the resources, we can crack on. And we don't need anyone in the farmhouse now, so let's leave a couple of people left over there and get them all reassigned. Again, let's make the most of the fishermen's huts while we can. It's already shrunk, so we don't need the foragers. And let's get a couple of families working in the malt houses and the pack station. And we'll set up the bartering here. And again, we're sending malt and we're receiving tools. And how are we doing here? Have we had our iron ore coming in? Yep, we've got 13 iron ore. So we've plenty of tools being made. We've plenty of available living space here as well. Let's order an ox and get those upgraded. And we'll check in down here. Let's upgrade that to a stable. We've already got 2 oxes. And hopefully soon we'll start to get some bread into stock. Doesn't look like we're quite there yet. It's going to be rye bread. And there we are. Well, wheat bread rather. So we have got a couple of wheat bread already. We're starting to make malt as well. And as winter settles in, we're one step closer to having drinks ready for our main settlement. Okay, so let's head over here. And we're going to need to get a couple of breweries set up. And we've got a fair bit of money, so it might be worth considering importing some meats. Or in fact, what we could do is we could open up a slaughterhouse. Which may actually be a house upgrade. Let's look at these here. So, bakery, blacksmith's workshop, brewery, joiner, butchers. So we could get some mutton coming in because we have got a lot of sheep. We're already up to 126, so 66 sheep and 60 lambs. So we could set over a certain number, we could be butchering those and providing us with a good source of meat. And we do need a good source of meat. But for the time being, let's import some. How much does it cost to import meat? Ooh. It's not cheap. Right, that's not really an option. So, what we're going to do is down here, we're going to set all of these to have their own animal pens. And we'll set them all up so that they can produce us with a little bit of meat. And we need to add more properties anyway. So we're going to do these over here. And we'll do similar to the other side of the road, so they're just big enough to have a working area at the rear. And that'll provide us with some additional accommodation. And let's come round the road just here. And we'll also build some houses along here. Like so. So we have plenty of space for people to move into, and we can start making so we've got plenty of meat coming in through that route. What are we doing over here? So fuel for years to come, but food for just 4. Let's get a family or 2 working in the stone gathering camp. And let's get a couple of families working on bringing in salt. And what's it going to cost us to open a trade route for salt? There's a wheat flour salt. Nothing, 'cause the upgrade we took. So we'll open that. And we're going to be exporting when we're over, let's say, when we're over 20. That's going to be an instant source of wealth for us here. So I might even take one off the stone gatherers camp and get 3 working down here, so we can get that trade set up as soon as we possibly can. And with that trade going as well, we can then start to think about buying in iron ore, opening up a bloomery and a tool workshop, so we have enough tools going forwards for maintenance of the iron mine. So, how are we doing for food? Down to just 2 months. Well, we've got a bit of wheat bread sat around. Have we got any? Yeah, we've got loads of wheat grain. So, bottleneck then is the oven. So let's get a full load of people working at the oven. And let's also open up a secondary oven. Just to make sure that we can get all this bread processed nice and quickly, because that's going to be our primary food source here. And how are we doing for malt from our barley. So we've still got 30 barley left over to be turned into malt. And I can't actually see where our malt metric is. But I'll trust that we've had some at some point. And we'll head over here and see if we've imported any at any point. So it doesn't look like it. Let's take a look at the pack station. Is anyone out and about? They are. They're over here. Oh, they're a long way from home. What on earth are they doing here? Let's unassign and reassign that family. Hopefully take care of that unusual issue. And yeah, we did sell a little bit of wheat. And what I think we're going to have to do is we're going to have to convert one of our existing properties into a brewery. Is that already the correct level to do that? And we'll see that construction is coming on nicely down here. And how are we doing for transport on this side? Let's add a couple of hitching posts down here. And we'll find one of our hitching posts over here and order in an additional force. We'll go to our livestock trading. And let's import up to 20 oxen. So I think for a settlement of this size we really could do with a few more available to us. And how are we doing here? How much salt have we brought in thus far? 7 salt already. And we need some additional accommodation. So let's set up some smaller burgish plots on this side here. It's quite hard to tell if we're keeping this straight with the white of the stone. Oh, there we are. That's one way of doing it. So let's pop those down there. And let's see if there is anyone we can free up. Yeah, we'll free up one of the logging camp families so they can work on construction. Yep, we'll leave them with that for the time being. So we still have surface clay deposits to work on here. And we're still extracting about 20 a month with that one, and 1 a month from that one. That seems to be the way with the deep mines for some reason. But hopefully once we've got the surface deposit fully extracted, we'll be able to start making use of the deeper mine. We've got a couple of families working over in the weaver's workshop there, so we can start turning the excess wool that we have into yarn. And then when we have additional families at the level that we can assign them, we'll get them working on making more clothes. And we're just waiting on the trader to get some livestock set down for us here. And not long until the winter snows break. Again, we're down to 2 months on the food here. We've got 24 wheat bread. And it looks like the bottleneck actually is the windmill. So we'll get a few more families working over there. And We've made malt in the last 16 days. It's not under construction. Under food we've got berries, mushrooms, small game, chevron beef, chicken, pork, nuts and sausages, carp, smoked fish, eel, carrots, beetroots, cabbages, pears, apples, quinces, rye bread, lebucan, wheat bread, eggs and milk. Under fuel we've got firewood and charcoal. Ingredients: salt, rye, wheat, herbs, honey, spices, crops: wheat grain, barley, rye, flax, wheat sheaves, rye grain, iron, clay, rough stone, hides, pelts, woods, leather, linen, yarn, iron. So it looks like in this update of the game they've just missed out malt on those metrics. So hopefully it magically works its way over here to our new brewery. And we're making ale. We don't really need a production limit. And no, obviously malt is arriving here because we have ale. So with the new houses constructed over here, I think it's probably time for us to open one of our taverns. So let's start with this one here. We'll get a couple of families in here and we'll overstock to the tune of maybe 10. And I can't imagine people will be too dismayed to hear that we finally have a source of alcohol to aid in their merriment. Not a moment too soon, because people are still cold somehow. Despite the fact that we have a good many clothes available by now, I would have thought. And they were still a little shy of clothing. Well, hopefully as we get a few more properties upgraded, we'll be able to get a few more tailors working, so we can turn all that yarn we've got into clothing. We've got a good surplus now of spears, so we might start selling some of those back onto the market. So if we go to trade, weapons, we'll open a spear trade route, and we'll export, and we want a surplus of maybe 240. Anything over that we can sell. And we'll just double check that things are going to plan with making additional bread. It does look like the hold up has been at the windmill, but we've got an additional family, couple of families working there now. But what we might even do as well is just set up an additional windmill a little further down the road to make sure that we can mill everything all in good time. And we're down to 4 available spaces, so let's extend these burgish plots. And how are we doing here? Running low on food here as well, but with winter coming to an end, we can start to get some foraging going again. And what we probably want to do is set up some properties for vegetables. So maybe 3 of these will be vegetable and 3 of them will be for trees, fruit trees. So let's set the first 3 up for vegetable gardens. That's going to be an earlier source of food than if we were going for the trees. And we'll just increase the priority on getting those constructed for us. And it would be a good idea to have someone working at the trade post. Now that we have enough salt to start exporting. We'll go a moment too soon because the royal tax has gone up again. I tell you. Soon I'll balk at the royal tax, and soon, not that soon, but soon enough, we'll be strong enough to support the balking as well, hopefully. So we're still a few years away from those fruit trees bearing for us. I'm not going to expand those living spaces just yet because we've plenty of new dwellings to start filling up. And how are we doing it? We've got ale at the taverns. So it's the meats and the clothing now which is holding us up on getting level 3 burgish plots. So what I'm going to do is change a couple more of these out to help support that. So we'll get 2 more tailors workshops so that we can really start pressing towards having enough woolen clothes for people. And then what was the other need? We're having meats and fishes. So let's turn one of these as well into a butcher's. That's quite a noise, wasn't it? And with a butcher... Oh, 637. Goodness. We can start to take some of our excess sheep and turn them into food. So we'll just wait for that to be set up for us. So there's the tailor shop making woolen clothes. And we'll do the same for this tailor shop. And then the butcher. We're going to be making mutton. And I don't know then. Reserve. Ooh, it's a little bit odd. Doesn't look like we can set a reserve level mutton. But hopefully he doesn't empty us of all of our sheep. And we are extracting pretty much all the eel that we can. Right. Well. Let's at least then get all these set up with pigs, so we are making as much pork as we can at least. And as we have people moving over here, we're going to do the same. And what we'll probably do, because you need a lower level burgish plot to produce meat in the form of a animal pen, is then we can slowly start to convert our central houses here to more artisan tasks like the tailor shops, like the butchers, and like the brewery. So we didn't quite have the jubilation I thought we would at the introduction of ale, and that's because people are still lacking clothing and walking around naked presumably, and still lacking in meat because we've outstripped the production of our rich eel node. But we'll do what we can to take advantage of our large population, and where we can we'll start breeding pigs. And we'll continue to grow our sheep population. And what we'll do as well is we will start fencing up our fields so that we can use those to store sheep as well. And to that end, we should probably have a sheep farm located nearby. And we're still good for food and fuel here. I don't think we're likely to run out of food, especially once our fruit comes online here as well. And we've got a bit of mutton appearing, so obviously we are taking care of the sheep. I really hope though that we don't take care of all of our sheep. Stock production of the region surplus of the resource is less than or equal to the reserve. So how do we set up the reserve? Is that the job of the sheep farm? Doesn't look like it. Is that the job of the livestock trading post? Maybe it's the surplus. So let's set that to 80. Lambs to 60. Oh, and we've got a few properties ready for upgrade. Oh. 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 Level 3 no less. Level 3 burgage plots. Never thought we'd see the day. The winds of change blown. Roomback. Cross check. Looks like we're starting to get on top of the food situation, so that's good. Let's get a few working at the foragers' huts. Now we've got foraging to do and get a opening there as well for herbs. And we'll just keep plodding on. Have we used up all of our barley? Yep, we have, so we don't need those families working there anymore. And why don't we get a few of our fields here set up ready for sheep as well. And we'll also build a sheep farm. And things slowly plod along here at Angstras as well. Here too, it's probably time to start thinking about having a sheep farm. Pop that in here. And what do we like for fertility here for rye? Of course, our town is directly over the most fertile part. That's what you get for ball planning and not checking. But we can do something over here, so let's build a farmhouse up here where it is not so fertile. And connect that road back down across here. And through there. And let's set up some fields. And we'll just look to fill the space. So 1. 2. 3. 4. Let's start down here on this one. 5 and 6 for the time being. And let's set these up for crop rotation. And let's also set them up with fences. Lovely, so we're getting ready here for some farming and for keeping sheep. And let's check how we're getting on. Looks like more houses are ready to make the leap to level 3 burgage plots. Before we know it, we're going to have a small town. It's been long enough in the coming, but better late than never. So with these plots down here, let's make sure we're continuing to build the animal pens at the rear and ordering in animals when we get the chance. So we keep a strong and steady production of meat, and we start to take care of the shortage that we've had. Yep, we can start upgrading some of these plots to level 2 as well. So there's plenty for our construction workers to be taken care of. We're a little ways off harvesting yet. Fantastic. And how are we doing over at these salt mines? Oh dear. Food is rather dire over here. So, got a bit of money though, coming in. So let's get some beets and carrots planted. And are we taking full advantage? Yeah. And no. Let's get 2 working there. And leave a surplus of 6 wild animals. And we might need to import some food here temporarily. So let's go to trade and to food. Can't afford anything, so what we're going to have to do is let's get a pack station and set that up here and set that to a very high priority. And we're going to have to try and trade for some food, so let's also set up a pack station here. Set that to a high priority. And what we'll do is we'll set our trade on the salt to, we need an excess of, let's say, 30 before we trade it away instead. And we'll set up a barter connection sending salt to Brumbeck. And Brumbeck will send carrots, I think, over to Mundluck as a way to tide us over on food. So let's go Brumbeck. We're going to send... No, there we are. Now I was thinking it would be alphabetical. We're going to send salt, and we're going to receive some sweet, juicy carrots. And we'll set up the trade post over here just as soon as we've got it constructed. The pack station. It takes a long time for workers to walk across here. We'll get a mule purchased and get someone working here. And Manlock, we're sending carrots and we're receiving salt. And we want a permanent livestock. We've got some stable space here. And let's make sure, can we go to the livestock trader? And mules. We want to have a surplus of 6. And look at that. We've reached a small town. We're finally starting to get on top of the wants and the needs of our people. And that's going to enable us to continue to grow larger and larger and larger. How are we doing for sheep? 68 sheep, 61 lambs, so we don't seem to have lost an enormous amount to culling. Although I'd be interested to see how much we're spending on importing sheep. Only 161 lambs, 570 though on sheep, 19 and 7, so we'll keep an eye on that. Over here we seem to be doing okay on food again. We used up all our flour, we used up all our grain. So we don't need anyone working in the windmill for the moment. And we have no regional wealth. So we'll have to figure out exactly what we're going to export next year. And heading over to the slow and steady Hagstrasse. Let's get number of families working at the farmhouse. And let's start setting these up for rye in the fields on our normal rotation. It'll be too late to get anything done here this year, but at least we can make a start. And let's also get a family working at the sheep farm. And we can up taxation here now a little bit as well. Let's go straight to 6%. And we also need to set up a livestock trading post so that we can start bringing in sheep. That looks like a good location to have that down there. And how are we doing for fuel? Yeah, we look to be taking care of the fuel situation now, which is good. Alrighty. A few more houses ready to be upgraded to level 2. We've got plenty of available living space at the moment as well. Look at that. A level 3 burgage plot. How exciting. And who'd have thought it? More across the river before our central area as well. Right, how have we got on with the barter connection? We're very low on food still. Have we started bringing in any carrots? Yep, we are having carrots trickle in. Let's get a mule ordered for you. And get a hitching post set up as well. And we have at least got beets and carrots being planted here. And we have some mushrooms growing. I'm starting to think that this chap isn't close enough to what he's meant to be doing. So I'm going to relocate him that much closer. And we just as well get another family working at the stone gathering camp. And the 4th family working, bringing in salt. Is salt stored at the granary or the storehouse? I'm not sure, but we need to upgrade the storehouse and granary in any case, so we'll get that done. And with just 5 regional wealth here, what are we going to export? It does realistically need to be something we produce here. We want to barter away most of our malt, ideally. But I think we're probably just going to need to produce a fair bit more malt so we can actually afford to sell some as well. So that we have an income of something. The alternative is we massively up our timber industry and we try to export some charcoal. That might not be a bad option. We will need to get enough to open said trade route. And how much is it going to cost to do that? $60, so not terrible. Actually, we could even do firewood. So where have we got in position? They're down here. So we've got our loggers camp here, and we have got our woodcutters lodge here. So let's get a couple more people working there, and let's pop a little road across here and build a number of foresters' huts and a couple couple of woodcutters as well. Just there. And that will be how we kickstart our economy here. And actually we're probably getting quite close to harvest time. 76 days. Oh, so actually, we have made it in time to get some rye in the ground this year. And actually produce something as well. And they're all done, so let's get those families unassigned. And let's import. We'll purchase a horse because we can. And let's go to our livestock trading post. Get someone working there. And let's import. Let's start with 20 sheep and 20 lambs. It's going to significantly eat into the funds we have available. But at least it adds another string to our bow. And we're also going to want to get a windmill set up, so that come harvest we can actually do something with that which we've produced. So we'll pop that up there and snake a road around like so. And we'll also need a bakery, which we'll pop in there. And we'll head back over here. 3 months of food, that's a relief. And we've got a decent number of carrots coming in now. Let's upgrade that hitching post. And really here we're relying on that salt mine. It may even be worth opening up a second one, so we're going to need to get exporting pretty quickly from the salt. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to buy in the iron we need to maintain tools. That's really our priority at the moment. And have we got anyone else ready to upgrade the burgers plot level? And yeah, we have. Just a couple of level 2s. I'll take it. I imagine we're starting to see the restricting issue be alcohol again, as opposed to meat. So I think we've pretty succinctly started to take care of the meat issue. Let's do a couple of chicken as well. Pretty soon as well, with 3,000 in our treasury, we can start to think about getting our retinues set up properly. Get those upgraded. Still looking pretty good on sheep. And we've got pasture space up here. Harvest is approaching. Construction is going well over here. Let's get those excess families assigned to the forester's hut straight away, so we can start to get additional trees planted. And let's get another family at the forager's hut so we can take advantage of all those mushrooms. We'll take one of the fisherman's hut to accommodate the extra building work. I'd imagine before too long, we're just going to have some sheep arrive. In fact, we have one already. Where is he? Spot the sheep. And he's not out to pasture. Is he at the sheep farm? No. Maybe he's still on his way. That's fine. Oh. Never did get around to planting these trees. That's a few years behind. Better late than never. Right. And there we have it. Great progress across all the realm. Bellies are full. Hopes are high. And the people are growing. That's all we have time for today, friends. I hope you found this as relaxing to watch as I found it to make. As always, I appreciate you and your feedback. Until next time, cheerio.